Somewhere in the middle of this season, Fallout did something that should have annoyed me. Not in a vague internet way, not in that's not how it works way, in a very specific gut level way. A place I recognized was just gone. No buildup, no branching outcome, no sense that if someone had made a different decision earlier, it might still be there. It wasn't framed like a tragedy, it was framed like reality. And my first reaction really wasn't thoughtful. I wasn't analytical. It was, you can't do that. No. That feeling stuck with me longer than I expected it to. Long enough that I couldn't just shrug it off as bad writing or a bold choice or whatever label usually makes discomfort easier to dismiss. Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized the problem wasn't what the show did. It was the way I expected it to behave. What's up, my know-it-alls? Well, I want to back up for a second because this matters. I understand why people are frustrated with Fallout. I really do. If you've played the games, you've invested time, thought, and identity into how that world unfolds. Your choice mattered. You lived with the outcomes. You probably have a version of Fallout that feels like yours. So when the show makes a decision that steamrolls past all of that, the instinctive response is, "That's wrong!" That reaction makes sense completely. It's also where I was starting from. What I didn't realize yet was that I was holding the show to a rule Fallout itself never followed. I kept trying to map what I was watching onto a timeline, trying to reconcile it with outcomes, trying to figure out which ending this was supposed to be honoring. And that approach kept breaking. Not once, consistently. Every time I thought I understood the logic the show was operating under, it did something that didn't fit, and not in a messy way, in a deliberate way. That's when it finally hit me that Fallout wasn't failing to follow canon. It was refusing to pretend canon ever worked the way I wanted it to. Fallout was never a single story that branched. I would argue it was a system. And to be fair, especially in the Fallout universe, systems don't care what you prefer. Season 2 makes that very clear almost immediately. If you stop asking it to behave like prestige TV. So, Lucy and the Ghoul are obviously they're chasing Hank, and that's the goal. On paper, it's clean. In practice, everything gets in the way. Vaults, side conflicts, old experiments that suddenly won't die neatly into the main plot, factions that complicate things instead of really clarifying them. The story doesn't move in a straight line because Fallout never does. In episode 1, that pre-war mind control demonstration isn't there to explain lore. It's there to show you how the world thinks. Control first, disposal second, no room for agency once the system decides you're expendable. So later, when Lucy finds that survivor in Vault 24 and hears the warning lights before the explosion, the show doesn't stop to connect the dots for you. It lets the dots connect themselves. That's how Fallout teaches you. You discover the rules by ultimately surviving them. Then episode 2 drops Shady Sands. And this is where everything really breaks for people. Because Shady Sands isn't just a location, it's history, it's memory, it's something players, they built toward, defended, protected. The show doesn't treat it that way, though. It treats it like a consequence. Watching that, I have to realize, my reaction wasn't philosophical. It was really irritation, disorientation, that sense of something being taken away without permission. And I think that's the part that matters. Because Fallout has always done that. The games don't warn you when something important becomes irreversible. They let you find out afterward when it's too late to reload without losing hours of progress. The show really has recreated that feeling. And I think once I stopped fighting it, once I stopped demanding an explanation up front, the logic of it became disturbingly clear. Hank MacLean didn't destroy Shady Sands because he's evil in like a cartoon sense. He did it because the Vault-Tec worldview survived the apocalypse intact. Order over people, control over morality, stability over accountability. That logic didn't die with the old world. It was just lost. Its marketing department ultimately took a hiatus. So Fallout has always been about what happens when systems outlive the people they were supposed to serve. This is really where, like Lucy and the Ghoul, they stop being characters that start, and ultimately they start being something more familiar. They're player archetypes. That's what it is. Lucy is the run where you try to stay clean, you help people, you follow the rules, you believe there's a way through this without being something you hate. And it works until it doesn't. Lucy helps a wounded traveler in episode 2. It's the right call. It's also the decision that gets her captured. Episode 3 doesn't soften anything that happens either. Her crucifixion isn't framed as heroic or transformative. It's ugly. It's humiliating. It leaves damage behind. She doesn't come out stronger. She comes out altered, slower, dependent on pain meds, less certain of where her line actually is. Oh. Doing the right thing doesn't guarantee a good outcome. It just guarantees you'll have to live with it. And I think the Ghoul represents the other run. The one where you already learned that the world doesn't really reward decency, where survival means compromise, where you make deals you don't like because the alternative is really a lot worse. He trades information to the Legion. He rigs an entire camp to explode just to escape. And it works. The show doesn't celebrate him. It doesn't really redeem him either, though. He's tolerated because he's effective, isolated because of it, alive, but he's never really at peace. And I think that tension really never resolves because Fallout never resolves it. You don't win Fallout. You endure it. I think Maximus is really where this philosophy becomes impossible to ignore. He acts on instinct. He believes doing the right thing in the moment should count for something. And I would argue that in another show, it would. In Fallout, it destabilizes everything. He saves innocent lives and fractures the Brotherhood. He kills Harkness to prevent a massacre and triggers more chaos. His attempted coup collapses because conviction isn't the same thing as preparedness. Oh no. And I think watching that isn't satisfying. It's uncomfortable. And that's intentional. Fallout treats moral action as dangerous in systems designed to resist change. That's not nihilism, it's realism. And I think this is the point where everything finally clicked for me. Todd Howard's new game philosophy isn't marketing language. It's the key to how this adaptation works. Season 2 doesn't behave like a retelling. It behaves like a sequel. Kaiser, or Caesar, whatever you want to call him, he's dead. The Legion is fractured. The NCR is wounded, but not erased. Robert House exists as sort of this looming presence, not a solved problem. It's exactly how a new Fallout game would treat legacy factions. They're variables, not relics. The show isn't asking which of these endings you choose. It's asking you what the world looks like now, and that's why this works, even if you never played the games. Look, I don't need to know that Shady Sands meant something to everybody to feel its loss. I didn't need a wiki entry to understand the Legion. I really didn't need to recognize every reference for New Vegas in order to feel dangerous. The show taught me the world the same way Fallout teaches players. Through exposure, through consequence, through curiosity, what we call show don't tell. And that curiosity is what sent me to the games. Not nostalgia, not loyalty, curiosity. Oh yeah, even the craft choices support this without announcing themselves. It's real sets, physical creatures, enhanced by ultimately CGI instead of replaced by it. When Lucy and the Ghoul enter New Vegas, it doesn't feel like a reveal. It feels like walking somewhere you might not be ready for. That's Fallout. So when people say the show isn't faithful, I think they're measuring by the wrong thing. Faithfulness in Fallout was never about locking down outcomes. It was about persevering and ultimately preserving behavior. The wandering, the uncertainty, the sense that the world doesn't really care what you should do, what you wanted to do. The season stopped asking me to map it and forced me to experience it. And I think once I accepted that, I stopped arguing with the show and really started following it. That's when it clicked. That's really, for me, when Fallout started feeling like Fallout again. And that's the most keen part of this whole thing. So tonight's episode, they literally, we see the end result of that journey. We see Lucy having to make hard choices and realizing she kills the guy who obviously himself had stolen the store, if that's the thing you can do. And then ultimately someone says to her, who are you? Do you know who you are? Whatever. And she's like, no, I have no idea. I have no clue. And she doesn't. She's losing herself. Amidst that, she goes back to the one thing she thought was safe. And the Ghoul has betrayed her. And the show, of course, she knocks him out. He gets stabbed. Who knows what his end outcome is. And at the very end of this thing, you ultimately see Hank show up. And I have no idea how crazy twisted he's going to end up being, but so there you go. Now you know, and if knowing's half the battle, you're halfway to know it all yourself. What are your thoughts about the season so far? It's funny, I was going to do a whole review like I normally do, an entire recap and whatnot, and I realized this show is perfect. I love this show. I love what it's doing, and I really do appreciate the way it's doing it. And hopefully that's going to be more evident as the season continues. But I want to take a minute and kind of sit on that topic for a second more than really review the episode, because at the end of the day, I'm just really impressed by the entire series and what they've managed to do and pull off. Hopefully you are too. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. All right, guys, I cannot wait to talk to you again about next week's episode. Until next time, never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all. Bye, guys.